Cryptology 102, Bitcoin. It is a cryptocurrency, a peer-to-peer one. Think of it like a digital token. You can't physically touch or hold it, and all the transactions are logged on an immutable, public, decentralized ledger. It's a bit of a mouthful, that one, but let me break it down for you. We all have a basic understanding of physical banknotes. And we know that we can store a banknote in our wallet and then exchange it directly with someone else for goods and services. We can do this because as a society, we collectively believe the note to have value, reinforced by the belief in the central banks that issue it. Most of our transactions today, though, are used for electronic money. That's the money you see when you open your app, your banking account app, HSBC, Barclays, whatever you might use. That's what we use to make electronic payments. Go on, open the app and give it a check. All of our electronic money is stored in a bank's IT system. All the bank does is maintain a list of deposits, withdrawals, transactions, payments, and a current balance. It's called a ledger. Now, if I was to call HSBC and ask them for the £350 in my account in electronic form, they would probably laugh at me and say,
"Sir, we can give the money to you if you were to come in store and accept it in cash, or if you were to give us another bank account in a different bank that we could deposit the money into."
But there's no physical way of taking the money that's on their ledger and putting it onto my computer. When we make electronic payments, all that really happens is we send a notification to the bank to say, we would like to move this money from this account ID to this account ID. And so when the payment's transacted, the recipient's account is updated to say, we have received the money, and your account is updated to say, the money has been deposited. Well, left your account. The key point is that I never send it personally. The banks send it on my behalf. They're the middlemen. Now imagine HSBC could find a way to hypothetically send me my money in an electronic form. What would that look like? Well, the likelihood would be that it's a file. And so if I was to receive the file and I was able to store it on my computer, what would stop me from replicating the file? If we were to, be able to copy and paste and just duplicate our own money, well, the money that we have on our accounts, what would stop us from doing it? There would be a whole breakdown of trust in the system and in money. A physical banknote has an identity number, and the mint is supposed to maintain the realness of the money by validating each banknote as a real one. With e-money, we have to have trust in the banking system in order to trust the money. If we believed that banks could randomly change the ledger, we would lose trust in the system completely, because they could go and update anyone's accounts. If you were a bank clerk, you could literally just be like,
"All right, mate, I'm going to knock in like £1 million into your bank account today. G'day, sir."
It doesn't work like that. Banks maintain the realness of electronic currency by convincing us that it's basically the same as physical currency and that they will maintain it and keep track of it or score of it. So while it's true I can send cash in an envelope to someone in Kenya, how would I do the same with e-money without banks having to act as a central middleman in the process? Ta-da! Enter Bitcoin. Hello. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, please feel free to subscribe at this moment in time. Here's a few couple seconds. And if you're down there, why don't you drop a like as well? Yeah, I appreciate it. Bye. Sorry for that, he comes in from time to time. He's a new house guest. Back to the video. Bitcoin is a system to potentially replace the current banking middlemen, the thing we have to trust to record our e-money transactions, with an intermediary that we don't have to trust, or a decentralized intermediary that we don't have to trust. That decentralized intermediary are the Bitcoin users. In an ordinary electronic payment, what happens is I say, hey, I want to send £25 to my mum. So Viraj Acharya is sending £25 to Nishma Acharya. The banks then move that money and I'm left with the residual amount in my account and she's left with her new amount. In the Bitcoin system, there are only numbered addresses. Think of them as an address, a home address that it's okay for people to know. You can go on the web or go on Google Maps and you can find someone's house. Those addresses have the Bitcoins that are in the system linked to them. And those addresses are linked to actual people. So I have a public Bitcoin address. If I want to spend or send Bitcoins, I first have to broadcast a message to the Bitcoin network saying something along the lines of, hello, I'm public key X and I wish to transfer 1 Bitcoin to public key Y. Please check this and record it on the ledger. In the case of Bitcoin, that ledger is called the blockchain. To tangent slightly, at the start, I said that Bitcoin was a peer-to-peer cryptocurrency. And it is. And what I meant by that is that it takes 2 parties to transact, unlike with e-money taking 3 parties. You have to have the bank included. In this case, it's sort of 2 parties. The third party is the Bitcoin network, as I'll now explain. So when I say to the network, hey, I want to spend my 1 Bitcoin, or I want to spend my 1 Bitcoin, the Bitcoin network sort of chunks all of these transactions together in something known as blocks, which are dropped onto, now visualize this, are dropped onto the desks of Bitcoin clerks, who then verify if those transactions are legitimate or not. This is called mining. Picture gold in the ground. We know it's there, but its value is hidden until the miner digs it up from the ground. Mining is there to reward people for the difficult task of recording and validating transactions in Bitcoin. They get rewarded in Bitcoins for doing so. The system is built so that you compete to mine new Bitcoins by checking that the existing transactions, the old transactions, are legitimate or not. And thus it's a currency, or called a currency, that grows as people maintain its integrity. But you might say, hey, like the validation process has to be secure enough for people to not, rig the system or game the system. Well, it is. So it's difficult enough so that no rogue group or no number of individuals can completely game the system and take all of the Bitcoins, or make it really easy for themselves to get all of the Bitcoins. The transaction shoutouts are received by the network, and these miners exert computing power to try and validate the transactions, as I said before. But in doing so, they update all of these records. So they'll say that, hey, you've requested to spend this. This is your opening balance. This is the amount you want to spend. This is your existing balance, your residual balance. This is the amount of Bitcoins in circulation. You're okay to do that. And when the miners have validated all of these transactions in these like blocks, they add those blocks to the blockchain, where you get the visualization that the Bitcoin network, all it is a bunch of transactions linked together. It'd be wrong to think of Bitcoins as things, as if they were metal coins. In other words, it's not like the transaction first occurs and then is later recorded, a bit like if I was to give cash to someone and then go down and record it on a piece of paper. In fact, it's the very act of recording that makes the transaction real. All I have on my computer or my phone is an address, a public address that says I am the rightful owner to that part of history. My public key is like a digital decentralized safety deposit box facility. If I lose access to that keys, I lose access to the claims on those coins to my public key on the blockchain. And that, my dear friends, is Bitcoin in a nutshell. Stay striving, my cryptologists. That was actually kind of corny, but we love to see it.